We'll have the call to order, please.
Councilwoman Michael,
Present.
Councilman Babcock,
Here.
Councilman Eagle,
Here.
Councilman Peters,
Here.
Councilman Petty,
Here.
Vice Mayor Reese,
Here.
City Attorney Moore.
Here.
Thank you. Have everyone had a chance to read the minutes from January 7th meeting? If so, do I hear a motion that we accept them?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Motion to approve the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll consider bills over 2,000. You want to say something on those?
It's just been normal ones except for the Midtown Engineering one, which I put in your guys' packet, but I did include in the electronic packet the attorney invoice and the fleet bill.
Okay. Any questions about any of those? Do I hear a motion to approve payment?
Motion for payment.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We've had our public hearing. Are there any more citizens' concerns? Because this is a chance during our regular meeting to have that. Yes, sir.
You guys are gonna be voting on the hotel occupancy tax a little bit later. I just ask you to consider, when you vote for that, we can be different as a city and not be like other cities. I know I've heard, just because we can levy a tax doesn't mean that we have to levy a tax. And I would also ask you, why are we putting that tax on the books? Is it just because we want to? Does the city need the revenue? Does the city need that money? Because the city's got millions of dollars sitting in the bank, sitting in investment funds right now. There's not really a need for that. Mr. Leftwich, John Leftwich couldn't be here. He told me I could use his name as a proxy tonight. Obviously, he owns the Walton Hotel. He also has a short-term rental here within the city limits, so it's going to personally affect him. He's adamantly opposed to it. Obviously, he's a business owner. He wants to do what's going to help his business. But in talking with him, communicating with him, he does say that those people who do stay at his hotel do ask about that fee. They're already paying the full sales tax, and then they're paying 5% on top of that, so they're paying 14.75% in tax just to stay in our historic hotel. Something that we want to advertise, we want to bring people in, but then we want to charge them an exorbitant rate on top of what the normal rate is. So I just ask you guys to consider that. But the biggest thing is, do we need that tax? Do we have to have that? Yes.
I've got a question for everybody. John talked to me about that, and he said that there's an additional 5% tax that essentially sounds like a hotel motel tax anyway.
Yeah, it's been there since 2003.
So why are we even voting on it again?
It's,
Can we bring that up during the regular, we'll talk, because I
Oh, I'm
think
sorry.
that's more information too.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then I would just ask the question to you guys, based on the city charter, when was this tax ever enacted appropriately?
Okay.
Charter was amended in 2003. When was it enacted appropriately? So,
Okay, thank you. We'll be taking that up.
Yep.
during regular business. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other citizens' concerns during this time? Okay, thank you. Then we'll go to the reports. Mayor's report. Everything is running very smoothly in our city. I want to thank all of our city employees, the backbone of our city that keeps it running. We really appreciate them. We will need to schedule another date. We had one with the personnel policy with Mr. Grubb. We need to do one more so we can finalize what we want to change in the ordinance. We have to have formal language, and Mr. Moore will have to do that for us. So
did we not do that the last time?
we said if there's anything else you want to change, do you do any formal language from that?
No, when we had the conversation with Mr. Grubbs, he was going to send a revised policy back for review, and I haven't seen it. I don't know
Okay,
if he's.
let me call him then. I thought, the only thing we were really discussing was the holiday pay.
Yeah, but he had made several changes that he was going to incorporate.
We'll call him tomorrow.
Okay.
Take care of that. Once you get that, we just have to vote on it
Yeah.
twice.
Yes, because it was an ordinance.
Okay. So we will get that, and we'll have at least the first reading on that the next session. Thank you. That's really all. Moving yours very smoothly. Thank you. Attorney's report?
I don't have a report, but I'm glad to answer any questions. If anybody has any.
Thank you. Recorder?
I don't have anything for my report. I'll take questions as well.
Okay. Chief of Police?
Yes,
Chief
ma'am.
Davis?
I think y'all have my monthly report in front of you. If y'all have any questions for me or have anything, I'm glad to answer them now. I will be bringing up something on the agenda if one of y'all makes a motion about it, a little bit about purchasing a used copy machine. So, thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Public Works?
I have nothing unless y'all got some questions.
Okay. Just running real smoothly. Wonderful. Oh, we did get a new door.
Yes.
We have a new door at City Hall. As a the whole works on it. It's
Yep.
great.
Mayor Smith, would it be appropriate, because we've kind of tied our hands on that thing, as far as adding something to the agenda, would it be appropriate just to go ahead and address the police chief's needs on the copier machine?
Well,
It's on-
it's
it's on
a-
the agenda.
it's on-
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I'm
No,
so sorry, I
it's
did
all
not
on
see
here.
that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we did.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead to water sewer.
I don't have anything to report, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Water plant is Rusty's not back yet, is he?
No.
I've not seen it.
Okay, his mother had some surgery, I think, wasn't sure if he would be back in time. Things are running smoothly there, we're working toward getting the pump system up and going eventually, in the water, to replace the water tank. Wastewater, Mr. Steve?
Yes, ma'am. I'll bring the council up to date on a couple of things that y'all helped us out with over the last couple of years, but in the budget, y'all allowed us to replace the pumps at the main lift station. So we went with new vortex pumps, and then Upper Cumberland come down and put in a new power grid. So from 2019 to 2020, we cut our electric bill by $5,700. And then also, we were using the chlorine gas to disinfect with. And we first got looking at this as a safety issue. The fallout from that, if we'd had a bad chemical gas leak, they were looking at having to evacuate over a mile radius. And once we got talking to the mayor, when Drew come over, they used liquid bleach to disinfect with. So last budget, y'all allowed us to put in the chemical department to change that over. So we've got that changed now. So we're out from under the evacuation plan we would have had, and with the chlorine, we had to use 4,000 gallons of water a day to mix that. Well, we cut that by 90%. We're using 400 gallons. So we're saving enough water that would supply 31 households a year. And that comes to over $9,800 a year. So we're usually here asking for money, and I just want to let you know that it's going to a good thing, and we're making it safer plus saving money. And appreciate y'all, and I appreciate Ricky Brown and Drew Gentry, because they're a big part of this. That's all I got, unless y'all got anything.
Thank you. We always appreciate saving money, so thank you, Steve, very much. Good job. Okay, Mr. Joe, Chief Hyatt.
I've turned in an annual report and also a one-sheet report for this month. Did all of y'all have a chance to see that? But if you didn't, I want to let you know about the one sheet. Last October, we had an ISO review. That's explained in that one sheet. I won't go into all those details. But with one being the very best, and there's just a handful of roads nationwide, 10 being no fire department, we improved from an ISO rating of 5 to an ISO rating of 4. That measures fire department, water supply, and dispatch. And I'm really proud of our guys that work so hard. This is not an overnight thing. This takes 5 to 6 years to accomplish. So just wanted y'all to be aware of that. Should save money for every property owner in the city of Carthage. So that's all I've got, unless y'all have some questions. And if you want to know about the ISO thing, that'd be better off outside of this time constraint. It will take a while to explain that.
We really thank you. That's a big, big thing.
We did good.
Very, very big.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Okay, then we move into our unfinished business. And we have one of our grant writers, Marcy Ackerman, on Zoom tonight. She's coming to, she had another obligation, so she'll be talking to us about, Joe, our CDBG grant that we're trying to get for the fire engine. Marcy, what we're thinking is, you explain about the matching, and if we bring our match up a little bit more, could you explain those numbers? I'm sorry, I'm here.
Yeah, I sure can.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Making sure I didn't turn my volume up or anything. This is very confusing, to be honest with you. Whenever we're working with the budgets of CDBGs, they get kind of hectic. But Carthage has a match of 21%, but then there's 4% discount, so that brings your match this year down to 13%. And one of the, let's see, let me just read this email that I sent you, Mayor, maybe it'll make a little more sense to them. One of the main scoring criteria for CDBG is the price per person served. So they take the population of Carthage and they're going to divide that into the amount that you're asking for. And the population we're going by is 1,795. And if we go with the current amount the grant asks is $297,192. But that also includes a $44,408 minimum match required that Carthage would have to provide. So when we divide that out, the $297,192 by the population of 1,795, that makes the price per person served $165.57. Ken Archer is over these grants in Nashville, and he's mentioned that if you raise your match, that helps your score go up because your price per person served is going to go down. So if you guys, instead of the required $44,000, if you would match $50,000, that would take it down to $162.45 per person served. So it just kind of comes down to how much does Carthage want to match to actually help get that fire truck.
Marcy, can I, just to help explain, Joe, this is the engine.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
200 and what are we talking, that's just, is that the full price that we're talking about or not?
That's the engine. We'll probably over the next couple of years have to spend a little money on equipment.
Okay.
But we're looking at replacing a 35-year-old engine with this money that is no longer operable.
Okay.
It's parked.
Okay. So,
Yes, sir.
So, well, let's let her finish. I just wanted to clarify that. So, Marcy, you're saying again, if we up our match, that gives us a better chance at getting this grant? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. The lower
Okay.
price per person means a higher grant score.
Okay. And was that what was holding us back last time? Some of what was holding us back last year?
That was the big part, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But this year, Chief Hyatt did find a less expensive engine too, so that's going to help the price go down already.
Okay, great. So I'm sorry I kind of interrupted you. Is there more that you need to explain about the matching there?
No, ma'am, just the minimum required match that you guys would have to provide the way it is right now is $44,408.
Is that the large, we increased our match, is that what you're saying?
Right, that's the minimum that you guys would have to contribute. So say you match $60,000, that would take your price per person down to $131.48. I know that's considerably more than the $44 that's required, but that's a pretty big decrease in price per person going from $165 to $131.
Do we have anything to kind of gauge where the other people are coming in and how we would rate?
Unfortunately, no, we don't have any idea who all is asking for what right now.
Okay. We have a question, Councilman Evil.
I've got a couple of questions for you. First off, what would you recommend so that we get this grant? What would you recommend we do? Are you recommending that we increase this to 50,000, increase it to 60,000?
I don't know the financial situation, but the more you can do would definitely be the best.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, and I understand that. What would you suggest from what you're seeing? Like, we want to, we obviously want to save money, but getting this grant does save us money. We really want to get this engine.
I mean, if you did at least $60,000, that's $24 cheaper per person right there. So
Okay.
that's going to definitely, raise some eyebrows and get some attention.
Second
You guys
question,
are really trying.
thank you. And second question for you, how do we do that? I mean, what's the proper procedure to say, as far as the council goes, to request that we go ahead and do a matching fund of 60,000 per se?
You guys would just vote to do that, and Mayor Smith would tell me, and I would submit that with the application.
Okay, and then I have a question for Chief Hyde. Did we budget, when we worked on the budget last year, did we go ahead and budget for that match grant?
We budgeted for an apparatus last year. It was a higher amount on the apparatus. I do not remember the amount of the match.
We don't have a CMFO to ask, but,
Well, are you talking about, is it in this year's budget?
yes, that's what I'm asking.
So I'm not sure if we did.
We did.
We did, okay.
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
just don't know the match.
Okay.
So I guess what we would need to do is we would need to find out what we did budget. If we need to amend the budget, we'll amend the budget to do it. But, I mean, honestly, this is something that's, highly needed. Joe's been after this for a long time. $60,000 versus $300K isn't a bad thing, and that also helps with our ISO rating. Am I correct on that?
Well, we need to let's have some discussion or make a motion or something so we can, everybody can fully
I will
discuss
make
this.
this comment if y'all will allow me to.
If you guys need the numbers from last year, what you requested in the grant, I have that pulled up as well, so that
Okay.
might help you
Could you
a
tell
little
us?
bit.
Yes, please.
Last year, you requested 451,000 even. That's the actual max amount that you could have asked for. Of that, $378,840 was the actual grant amount, and that ask per person was $211.05.
What was the match,
That's
Marcy?
considerably higher.
What was the match? Do you remember?
Last year, you would have to match 72,160.
It's already in this year's budget.
So we're good to go.
Okay.
So we don't even have to amend.
Up
Okay,
to
let's-
72 this year.
Sam, I'm sorry. and then-
Are we in, are we in the budget to go up to 60,000?
Up to 72.
That's what we don't
Okay.
know, but.
All right.
72 was our match from last year's application.
Okay.
Still in this current year's budget.
All right.
And if I don't know when this will be awarded. If it's awarded after June 30th, then we'll have to do that for the
It would
upcoming
be
budget.
closer to
year.
Halloween.
Pardon?
Closer to Halloween.
It'd be
Well, that'd
closer
be
to
in next
Halloween
year's
than
budget
into
then.
the fiscal year.
Okay.
Because we did not get this year's grant.
Okay. Councilman Babcock?
I make a motion that we increase our match up to $60,000 to apply for this grant.
I'll second.
Okay. We do need to know what's in the budget to know if we're going to have to do a budget again, but we can go ahead and make this motion. Okay.
That'll be in next year's budget if I understood Marcy right. It's not going to be awarded until Halloween.
So we would put it in the 2021-22 budget, is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am, because this,
Okay.
with the fiscal year ending in June, these grants don't come out till closer to Halloween, so it would be next fiscal year.
So your budget will actually be shorter. That's already been earmarked for this grant, and we'll be.
So we have a motion,
$12,000 will be good.
we have a motion on the floor
That's good, second.
we have a motion on the floor to put into our budget a match of 60,000, a second. Now, any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, so Marcy, I will get something to you, okay, whatever you need.
Thank you.
We'll talk tomorrow, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you. All right, so,
I know what
did you
they
get all
do.
that? Okay, great.
It's been 20 years, I know what they do. Bubble gum and tape.
Okay, so the next motion, I'm sorry, the next item is our swimming pool repair. As we kind of mentioned before, our liability insurance adjuster person came through and found things in our swimming pool that have to be repaired before we can open it again. And we have contacted a couple of different places. One came in from Knoxville and Huntsville, Alabama, that had done a lot of swimming pool repairs. Theirs were like several $100,000. And then we have a company in Lafayette, unless it's shaking his head, that came down and they gave us a quote of 100, with the add-on to help the big kiddie pool, it'd be about 180, a little over 185, close to 186,000. Problem is, I have called every grant possible around. I've called UCDD. It's hard to get grants for swimming pools. The original one had one from the Department of the Interior, way back when. The sign's still there. I've even contacted them. So we're sort of looking at how do we do this quickly. We may have to borrow some money because this pool, and everybody's feeling really needs to be open. Yes, sir. Well, let's.
What happened to the money we had that we moved to the swimming pool for a grant? We were looking at doing a project to try to see our parking liability that we were just discussing. And we decided we were gonna use that money to fix the swimming pool, because that just popped up right then.
That was a match we were trying to get, yes,
Okay,
that was a
so-
grant we applied for.
So did we not get it?
No, I mean, you wouldn't have gotten the parking
Okay.
either. No, it was a very highly competitive grant. We tried on that, but there are other ways we can do this, but, so my question is, we can reach out to some businesses here locally to see if anybody wants to contribute and put a contributor's plaque together. I'll keep looking for grants, but we do need to open this. It's one of the few things the kids have here this summer. I've also reached out to Tennessee Municipal League and a couple other places about possible loans, short-term loans that we could get. But I'd like to get ideas from y'all. How,
What kind of cost are we looking at?
it's about 186,000.
How much are we making off, how much revenue are we bringing in from the pools in the summer?
Not that much.
A drop in the bucket.
The pool is something that's there for the kids. We broke even the last 2 years.
Okay, so we broke even, so.
First time we.
And I'm just asking, I haven't lived here forever, why do we have these certain timelines on when we open the pool, close the pool?
Well, we usually do it in May after the school's out.
I think he's referring to like 8 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening instead of having.
That as well as, instead of opening on Memorial Day, closing on Labor Day, or whatever we
No,
close.
they're open on all the holidays.
Well, no, I'm talking about the beginning of the season, end of the season, extending the hours, figuring out how to bring more revenue in for it, so that over time, obviously, we're not gonna try to pay for it in a year if we gotta do it, but it's just like an investment, we gotta figure out a way to make it a more lucrative investment so that we can keep this open for the kids.
I think if, maybe what you're saying is like the weekend, for maybe 2 or 3 weekends after Labor Day, keep it open on the weekends.
Yeah, keeping it open the weekends, or in the afternoons, even when school starts, maybe in the afternoons, and then maybe opening it a little bit sooner too, just giving us a little bit more traction, gain some excitement to get people to sign their kids up to, get a pool pass for the year. Make it something where people want to show up and go to the pool.
Is there a time,
Excuse me, they have,
I'm sorry,
The problem with that is her lifeguards, some of them goes to school, that's the reason why it's set up that way.
and
Gotcha.
and just for the record,
Lifeguards.
the last 2 years, 2 summers have been the highest, even with COVID. We've had
I've been
the
here for
highest count
35
ever.
years, and last year was the most people I've ever seen at that swimming pool.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's well publicized, yes, sir.
On that list, would it be possible that we open it instead of during the day when the kids are in school, when they get out of school, like an hour after they get out, so the lifeguards could actually just continue working? Would that be a possibility? And then on the weekends?
Well, then
That's
they have,
something I'd have to ask Sally about her lifeguards. I don't know how
I'm
they're.
just saying, is that a possibility though?
Yeah.
well,
Instead
except
of,
for.
we know we can't be here during the day.
A lot of them are involved in sports is the only
Yeah.
problem, once they get back in school. But, I mean, I see what you're, yes, ma'am, Barbara? Sorry.
You can go ahead.
well, I agree, we should open it as much as we possibly can, because it's such a great service to our community.
Yes, it
We don't
is.
have a lot of things for kids, not only kids, parents that take their kids down there. It's a tremendous service, and any way that we can keep this thing open, I'm for it.
Okay.
Extending the hours, if we have to get other people in there to help, a lifeguard or whatever we need to do, we need to keep that pool open. I've been here since I grew up, and I've never known that pool to be closed. And it was, I think, done in the late 1950s. And I don't think there's a season that ever was closed. So we need to work on this.
Barbara, did you?
I agree with that. I definitely think it needs to be open. In our grant, we talked about it being a healthy activity for our community. So definitely needs to be open. But my thought was, how much is it utilized? Talking about after hours, that's a good idea. how much is it utilized for private parties, and could we make more funds on, and maybe have kind of a private party package, or just promote it a little bit?
Swim
Yeah.
lessons.
Swim lessons,
We
yeah.
have to find someone, we've tried to reach
You could
out to
definitely do the
someone.
private parties in the evenings, or is that pretty popular?
Yeah, it is, they do a lot of those. Mhm.
Yeah.
In fact, that may be one of the biggest draws is the private party.
So we could extend it that way, probably.
I'm sorry.
I think a lot of the reason why it's broke even the last couple of years is the amount of water usage. The pool's got several leaks, and it's used almost 3 million gallons of water every year. It's just pumping it into the ground. It's just leaking that bad.
Fixing that fixes that as well.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why, part of what we have to fix is.
I was just wondering what it costs to rent it. I mean, is it too low
It's like 60 or 80 bucks, something like that.
to rent it for a party?
It's not, it's
No,
affordable.
100. I think it's 100.
I thought it was 100.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very,
I mean,
it's very reasonable for a
It's-
couple hours.
Yeah, it's reasonable, like you know.
And
all
does
my kids
that
are born in
pay-
the winter though, so.
Does that pay a lifeguard? Does a lifeguard,
Yes, there's a lifeguard during the, yes, they have lifeguards there.
And we do have package deals during the summer, you can get a pass or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I have no issue.
wait a minute, I'm
if-
sorry, somebody, has everybody had a chance to address this? Go- Okay. Mr.
Wait.
Beck?
Okay. I have no issue us finding some money to put in this, but I want this, just like you said, I want this pool to serve the community more. I want kids out there and families out there more. If we're gonna pump money into it, and it's not about necessarily getting revenue out of it, we need to get some revenue out of it, but we need to make sure it's open more, and that the pool is working for the community, not the community working for the pool. And that's, if we can do that, and our thought processes are going like it is right now, I'm all for finding some way to get some money, moving some money around, rebudgeting, reallocating, but I just don't wanna keep doing what we've been doing and then pump money into it. And like you said, if we fix those cracks, it helps it get a little bit further, we extend hours, it gets a little bit further, and it helps pay for itself.
Yes, Babcock?
I make a motion that we do the research on either borrowing the money or moving the money around to repair the pool. Also, along with the amendment, we would be extending the hours and extending the accessibility to the public.
Okay, as long as we can get the lifeguards, we can do that, for sure.
Well, I mean,
Now,
it's-
is your-
research. Yeah, that'd be part of the research
Is
on
your
it.
motion, okay, because, let me just say, we're really in a time crunch.
Yeah, if we don't get the money, I'm not opening it, I can't. The insurance company won't let us.
That's
Well,
why,
Steve, may I make,
Here's-
I'll second your motion, and then can I make an amendment to your motion?
Okay, well, let's throw this in first. We have to get the company down there within a couple of weeks.
Weeks, yeah.
Okay.
To get this
6
done.
weeks at least.
So my
6
question,
weeks.
would be, if we locate a good source of funding,
let me read the amendment. How about
Okay.
that?
okay,
I make the amendment that we borrow the money
okay,
to fix the pool,
okay,
along with the extended hours for more accessibility to the public.
okay, okay. Will you,
I'll second it for the sake of discussion, but I'm not gonna vote for that, and that was the reason why. But I'm seconding it and then have discussion. We do have the money to do it, so we don't have to pay interest on a borrow, but we can do it. What I was gonna propose is, having one of our council members doing this research, and maybe we can have a special call meeting to just vote on getting it done. Again, like I said, we can go and get this done, but I don't see any quotes for $100,000. So I'd like to see the quote too before we vote on budgeting for it, or whether we do a loan or anything else.
I'm sorry, quote for what again?
A quote, where's the $100,000?
The estimate on the repairs.
I thought you said 186.
She said 185.
Not here.
185,
Here it
okay.
is, sitting around, I thought we had that, okay, so.
Put that on there, we're just gonna discuss it.
Okay. Was this bid out though?
Yes, we called every company in the.
We had a hard
universe.
time getting anybody to
Yeah.
come down. We had 2 companies.
The folks came down from Knoxville, and those are the ones that probably said I think it was $400,000 or $500,000 minimum to do it. We're talking about replacing major, you tell them what we're doing.
That company there is the one that done the fence.
Yeah,
They redone theirs.
kind
up there.
of give them a thumbnail of what they're asking us to do, replace the skimmers, the
The
lines.
skimmers, the hull's gonna have to be fixed, that's where the water's going out, leaking out. So it's going to be fixed.
And it's a safety issue too.
Safety issue.
Drains and things, we just
The
have
wall's
to make
falling
it
off.
plastered. Yes,
Last
ma'am.
year.
Just to go along with what he said, I had a citizen tell me that they had a pool that they wanted to get repaired, and maybe it had not as big as this pool, but obviously some similar issues. And they could not find, surrounding states, they could not find someone that would come and do that. So if we found one or two and gotten estimates,
Yep.
How much does it cost to build a pool?
A lot.
Well, I can tell you, I had mine redone this summer, and I had to get a guy to Kentucky, it cost me $9,000 just to put a new line and resurface
Yeah.
the bottom for a
Yeah.
private pool.
Well,
I'm just
and the-
looking at $184,000 to
and the-
repair a pool.
The one in Lafayette was over 300,000. It's, obviously, there's people who do it, people who don't. It's a specialty for a lot
So
of
what's the
businesses.
time frame we need to get this started?
We gotta need, as soon as
a
possible.
couple weeks.
Right now?
If over the years the council would listen to me, it wouldn't have been in this bad a shape.
Yeah.
And I also want to add, if we could make sure in that looking to extend hours and all that, if we could get Miss Sally, is that, to be in on that, to come to the meeting or let us know what her input, because she's been doing it, she could advise us, I feel like.
Speaking of Sally, she called me, she said, well, Mayor, can I call Mayor Mason and see, since so many kids from the county use it, that they'll kick in a little bit? And I said, sure, give it a try. I don't know how, if she, but I mean, if they.
They really ought to.
If the county wants to help with this, I mean.
If we
it's-
went 50-50 with them, maybe.
Well, I mean, it's used by everybody in the county.
Well, really, all the other cities, the other municipalities as well.
Yes, I mean, we had, I mean, as Les said, it was the largest, last 2 years, the largest
What
we've
has
ever had.
drawn so many people in down there now is that screen that we put up around it. There's a lot of people come down there that didn't want to be seen by people pulling up and looking at them.
Right.
I mean, you know, and
That was just a good investment there.
Absolutely.
So could we move forward as quickly as possible, see if we can get, the interest rates are very low right now, that's one good thing.
I've got a motion on the floor.
Okay.
It's been seconded.
I'm just trying to find
What-
revenues
what-
too.
What we will do is, everybody, if you find something good, let me know, we'll put it all together. I'm also going to talk, to let the public know, I'm going to be talking to some of our major companies out here to see if they will help, because they do.
And could we send a letter to the municipalities to ask if they would be interested? Just
That's a great
draft a
idea.
nice letter saying this serves all of us.
I think that's a great idea.
Daniel, do you know, I can't find, I'm looking all everywhere, where's our revenue, pool revenue? Do you know just approximately off the top of your head what we pulled up?
Hey, Mayor.
Could I speak once
Yes,
again?
this is our auditor, Mr. John.
I'm John Poole. I'm going to talk a little bit about, if you went to the audit page, once again, this is for the year ending in June, so this is going to be
You got
almost
your
a year
audit
old
statement?
from the pool, but it was 21,000 is what the swimming pool brought in. The expenses in this report are combined with the park, and combined, those were 34,000. I'd have to look to see what was pool, what was park, but
Okay.
revenues of 21,000 in the park.
Okay.
And this is not my place, and I'll sit down, but before you guys authorize to spend some money, to borrow some money, I'd like to talk about our finances, just to
Yes.
give you an idea where you're at. So I'm not opposed to borrowing, but I'm gonna show you, you got some money,
Could
but
we,
I know I'm a little bit down further in the,
could we table this until we've heard from Mr. Poole and come back to this? How would that be? Can we do that and then come back?
Do you,
after?
I guess he would technically have to remove his motion to table it.
Okay.
Can we let Mr. Poole speak on the part regarding the pool now?
Well,
I second that motion.
He's,
yes.
Well, before, again, before we approve any sort of financing, we're gonna have to know, kind of brought before you the specific terms of whatever loan we do. Now, you can go ahead and authorize, entering into this agreement and amending the budget appropriately, but we're not gonna be able to vote on a financing tonight. And again, Mr. Poole may have some suggestions on the best way to approach it, but,
And we may have to have a quick special call meeting just to deal with this, and honestly, if we find a source of finance and it all comes together, we may have to do that,
But the research motion that's on the floor, again, I don't think there's anything that within
Yes.
that motion that's
Sure.
gonna be affected by.
Okay, so the motion is to do some research on this to,
I'm gonna rescind that motion, I'll make it easy.
okay,
I make a motion that we research the financing abilities of the $183,000 to make repairs, or
Exactly.
research the monies within our own budget to pay for it out of our county, out of the city budget.
Can we have a deadline on that?
And we need to have an answer, it has to be done within the next 2 weeks, so I say by Monday of next week.
I'm gonna throw something in, I just thought about. We did get early on some COVID money. That doesn't have, it's not earmarked for COVID. It was $80,000. And it went into the general fund. So it was, they put it in knowing that we would be getting it. So it's in the budget, but it's not earmarked for this or anything else. So it could be used toward that.
Can you repeat that again, just so I understand what you're saying?
Okay, early on, the COVID money that came in, you remember all the counties, all the others got this. I'm just saying in addition to what Steve is saying, we have $80,000 in there. So if we want to use that toward it, then we are looking at 100 and something thousand.
That would be part of the research.
That's part of the researching to use our own, put the money that's in our budget for financing the money.
Can we
Can we
use
put a
that?
deadline of this? Because we do have, like Les said, if we don't get
Like I
in here
said,
in a couple.
by next Tuesday.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
If you have money in the general fund that's available, there's no reason why you can't use that portion.
For whatever.
of that account.
Whatever we vote on Tuesday.
That 80,000 is not COVID money, it's referred to, it's COVID money, it was a gift from the governor to be used for any purpose.
So we have, okay, so we got 80K there, so that's 80K, so that knocks it down. So now we're starting to find some money.
That's why it was said as research either to finance or to find it in the budget by next Tuesday.
It's 180.
Now, I think that we should schedule a meeting though that we all come back, because I don't feel comfortable voting on anything, but if we can find that research and then vote on it, that's great. Like, we're finding $80,000, good. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep knocking that number down.
But we have to vote on it in order to move forward.
There's a
motion, there's a second. We need to vote
All right, so any further discussion on this motion?
We just need to get, we need to start.
Who's doing the research?
Okay.
Who seconded that one? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
I just don't know who was doing the research too. That's
a good question, good question.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do the research?
Everybody's going to research, and we're going to come together and compare our notes. How's that? Can we do that? Or send it in to City Hall?
We don't have one of those.
I'm sorry?
No, never mind.
Okay.
Go ahead. Can I ask a question too, real quick, Les, in pertaining, what line item in this is that money y'all are talking about which is leaking out? What line item is that? Is that gonna be operating supplies? Is that gonna be repairs, maintenance? What is that line item in the
That would
city
be
park?
the water sewer fund.
That'll come out of water sewer fund. Can you get us that number too for the research about what approximately we would be saving per year in those leaks? I mean, it's a guess, it's okay,
Yeah,
but that helps us.
I don't know what the rate of evaporation is of water off of a pool and all
But
that
that's-
stuff, but I could get you the best number I can.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But that's aside from getting the loan. I mean, that's just
Sorry, I just
talking
went
about.
sideways.
Okay, so we have the motion and second. Any further discussion? Would you repeat your motion one more time so we have all clear about it?
I make the motion that we research either borrowing the money or locating the money within our own budget, paying for the repairs. We had research done by next Tuesday.
Okay.
We have a special call meeting Wednesday night to vote on it so we can get the repairs done in time to open the pool for the season.
Okay, now Wednesday night is the planning commission. You want to have it before the planning commission or after?
What time do you want to have it, Mayor?
You want to do it at 5 o'clock? Planning
Everybody can be there at 5 o'clock, I'm good with 5 o'clock.
On Wednesday.
Okay.
And does that give us enough time for public notice to fall within our, because
Yeah.
that gives us 3 days,
Well, we only
Friday.
We only need 48 hours.
It's a 48-hour, okay,
Yeah.
okay, no problem
Okay,
then.
so motion is to do the researching, what we have in our budget, what we can get on loan, come together Wednesday night, 5.
Research done by Tuesday, we'll vote on it Wednesday night.
Are we going to turn the research in one central place so we can kind of have it ready for everybody to see?
I'd say that's why we're here to discuss it.
We'll just discuss it at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Thank you very much. So we'll see you again next Wednesday at 5.
Got one more question
Okay.
before we move on. On the swimming pool, bringing in revenue, do they give swimming lessons?
We tried this year, there's no one we can find to do it. No. But if you know of someone,
Well, the reason why I'm asking, if that would tie in with, like a sport, with the education thing. Just thought that
yeah,
out
no, if
there.
you know of someone, that'd be great.
Because swimming would be part of a,
Or even water aerobics. A lot of the women used to do that.
so that's another thing that could be tied in with it, just.
Yeah, great idea, yes, sir.
We could probably contact Dennis Tennant with He's with the Department of, they changed the name, but it's with Tennessee Tech on their off-campus studies and whatnot. He may could point us in the right direction of maybe using somebody from Tech.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a local person, it can be somebody from Tech.
Right.
that,
Be wonderful.
will come into do it as part of get credit for it for school.
An internship for a college for credit or whatever.
Anything to enhance it. Great
Yeah,
idea.
let's keep,
Okay.
after we vote for all this, let's keep this conversation going. Let's get these ideas and keep it going and roll, because I like them.
Okay, so our next is we're talking about the hotel tax ordinance that we voted on. We did get an email from the Department of Revenue. What do you need to do? Do you need to talk about this in relation to that?
I don't think that is really relevant to,
Okay.
I mean, it only applies to Airbnb or short-term rentals. And it would,
Okay, in order to discuss, we do need a motion to, I guess, accept on second reading, and then we'll discuss it and vote on that. But Mr. Moore has something he wants to bring to the discussion. So
I don't believe that we properly can have a second reading, because we had to have a 2/3 according to section 14. I'll pass this out. According to section 14 in our charter, we have to have 2/3 of a vote to change this. And if I remember right, it's 3-3 with the overriding vote, so it failed.
So,
am I correct on that?
I don't think so. So there was but this will help go through the process of where we are today.
That doesn't apply?
So I'll try to make this as short and simple as I can, but in 2003, the charter was amended by private act to authorize the town to levy a hotel occupancy tax. That amendment had to be ratified by 2/3 vote of the council for it to become effective, which was done in 2003. So it was, the charter amendment was ratified, so it became a part of the town's charter in 2003. However, what that did was authorize the town to levy this tax. It didn't actually levy the tax, but the town began apparently to levy the tax about that time. And as far as I know, and if anybody knows different, I stand corrected, the town has been levying that tax of 5% on occupants of hotels and motels since then. Now, in December, I think it came to the mayor's, or late November, I think it came to the mayor's attention that this ordinance, or a similar ordinance that we're considering on second reading tonight, had never been passed, even though it had been collected and levied for 15, 16 years. So that's why this ordinance is before you tonight, to officially levy the tax which was authorized in 2003. It's not a new additional tax to what occupants have been paying. It's making official the tax that's been levied for the last 16 years.
the way it was explained to us by some of the people at the time is there was a procedural error, and they overlooked it, and that we're trying to correct, but the procedural error they did back then.
Do we not
They
have-
have been charging this tax, as has every city in the state who has this tax. They've been charging it since 2003. Yes, sir.
Do we not have to have a public notice on if we're creating a new ordinance?
No.
Was there, do we?
This doesn't, the
Doesn't-
act didn't require that there be a public hearing.
Okay.
I mean, it has to be, of course, be like every other ordinance, it has to be in writing, has to be brought before and passed on 2 readings.
We've been essentially illegally collecting a 5% occupancy tax since
What's that like?
2003. That's, if you can call it procedure, and that's fine. That was a nice way of putting that we've been illegally taking money. That's what we've been doing. And it's a pretty tied vote here, and obviously, I guess, the one hotel, we got 2 hotels, one hotel owner speaking through proxies saying they're not for it. I'm gonna put, it's another tax. Why, just because we can, why should we?
Yes, ma'am.
To clarify, so they're not going to be paying anything, there's no additional tax being levied to the hotels?
They're already paying it. which
They're
I wasn't
already
aware of the
paying
last
it.
meeting.
That was what I had heard from some of the citizens, that they were already paying
Right,
it.
they are, yes.
So it's not a new tax, not additional money.
We just discovered that they, and to be honest, everybody who was involved back then seems to think they did it correctly. Ratifying it was all they needed to do. So again, it was just a procedural thing that.
Yeah, and I will say, there is an argument that what's been done satisfies that, and that that's valid. I will tell you that my advice is, if this doesn't pass, to stop collecting it immediately, to notify the Department of Revenue that this was never enacted by ordinance, and move forward. Because I do think it's required that you actually levy the tax once it's authorized in the charter.
Yes, sir.
And that was gonna be my question, if it is voted down, which it was by the council, or it was, it didn't pass by the council, does that stop? Do they stop getting billed for that?
That is my suggestion, yes, is that it's not levied, not effective, and the town should no longer collect it.
And we would be the only city in the state that does that?
No, a lot of cities don't
Here's
have
a
it.
list.
That's
If you
what
want to see the other cities, this is from the Department of Revenue. They
I
said-
thought you had said, I thought you, Mayor,
Yeah,
had said.
here's a list.
All the other cities do.
Gordonsville levies it, DeKalb County levels
Who
it,
does
Jackson
that?
County levies it.
Who does that?
I don't know that.
So we got
Everybody
a
I see
positive
on here
list,
does
what about a
it.
negative list?
Pardon me?
You didn't grab a negative list though?
No, this is, the
Okay,
department.
this is everybody.
This came from the, I didn't ask for this. This came from the Department of
Gotcha.
Revenue in an email about some other stuff, and it's fine.
We got a pro-tax list, and we don't have an anti-tax list. What I want to go and do, I'm gonna make a motion that we immediately stop levying this tax because it wasn't done
Do
properly.
you want to pass this around first to see who's actually doing this?
Well, let me finish my motion, we can pass it around.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, if they don't mind, I'll finish my motion. We discuss. Motion to immediately stop levying tax, notify the Department of Revenue that we haven't passed this correctly. That's my motion.
I second that because the council didn't pass it the last time.
so under the council's new rules, I think that's a different motion than what's on the agenda for tonight. But obviously, what's on the agenda right now is this ordinance on second reading. So my suggestion would be to withdraw that motion, deal with this ordinance first. Then, if we want to put, again, under the new rules, I think that would need to come on the agenda. Again, that's going to be my opinion to do regardless of whether there's a motion and you may want to bring it back up, or you may want to say that's an emergency and have us vote on that tonight, but.
How do y'all want to do this? I can withdraw or,
I'd say withdraw it, because I mean, we've got to, it's going to go through second reading, right, and we've got to vote on it again.
I'll withdraw my motion.
We'll see how the vote goes this
Okay, the
time.
motion's withdrawn.
And call to, well, that's just a motion, that doesn't have to be an ordinance, so that can be done in one vote. So.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
So what we are looking at is the ordinance that we voted on last time. And we need a motion to pass or not. Or do we just vote? What do you suggest?
Do we have a motion to
Can I-
approve already?
Quick question,
Yes.
do we know about how much revenue we're talking about? I think that's something the citizens need to
Well,
be aware of
it's-
if we have
It's just
it.
the one motel who's been paying it all that time. And
Yeah, right
yes,
there.
sir. Well, yes.
14,000.
14,000.
Thank you.
14,000. Thank you. Okay. Is that?
You're useful being here tonight.
Do you come every month?
Over last year?
The year that, June 30th, 2020,
Okay.
so,
Okay,
yeah, I
thank
wouldn't, we could probably look for the 6 months this year, but, yeah.
We're gonna need you here every month.
So what do you suggest?
We're just voting again?
I think deal with the ordinance
Okay.
that's here on second reading.
So just all in favor, all opposed? or-
I don't.
There hasn't been a motion made.
So it may fail for a motion, or someone can make a motion, we can discuss it.
How say you? You want to make a motion, anybody? Okay. Then what?
If there's no motion, it will fail for.
Right, fails. So do we just move on? Okay, let's move on. There we go. Thank you. All right. So, okay.
Can I make a motion to add an emergency amendment item or emergency motion in here, and I think we have to have a 2/3 majority if I'm correct on that. Okay, so I'm making a motion that we add something to.
Can you tell us what you're adding, so we'll know?
And I guess it would be under new business if I'm doing this properly. We'll put it at the number 1 item. So my motion is to add something to new business. We're going to be adding the motion to immediately, if I'm doing this right, the motion to discuss ending stopping the levying the tax.
Yeah, I think that's sufficient for putting it on the agenda.
If it's not a legal tax, I don't see that we need to even have an amendment to start doing the right thing.
I mean, we don't even need a motion to do it, we just stop
We just say
levying
we're
it?
not doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But they stop
But
getting
then,
billed
then
for
we
that.
need to contact them.
Yeah.
so we don't need even a motion to do it, we just need to stop
Yeah.
levying the tax?
I think we've done it already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be my recommendation, whether you vote on it or not,
Yeah.
is stop levying the tax.
Yeah, so
As
I
long as
think.
we're not levying,
I
Are we
think
good?
I
Can we be
think
updated about that when that
Sure,
starts?
sure, I think we just did, right here. Okay, so we'll take care of that, we'll let you know, and that'll be it. Okay.
And having said that,
Official email.
I may ask for a vote next month after we research it, if I need further confirmation, or the Department of Revenue needs that, and so I may bring that back, depending on how it turns out.
Okay, all right, thank you. So our next item is going to be, we have to, because there was nothing in our budget to pay the, the tax assessor's appraisal fee that he's billed us for, there would have to be a budget amendment to put it in our budget for this year. So we need, first of all, to make a motion for that in a second, and then some discussion on it.
And do we have what was the number on that again?
10,000.
About 10,000.
Almost 10,000.
10,000.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we amend the budget to make our tax assessment appraisal.
Okay, motion and second. And so it's open for discussion. I would like Mr. Moore to, because he didn't have an opportunity to address this at all last time, to speak to this just a tad bit about how your numbers and what MTAS numbers are, or whatever.
So I did send an email to the council before the last meeting, it was January 7th, 2021. I'm going to leave it at that unless someone has any questions. I think that email pretty well summarized where we had been with this, and I do understand we have 2 new council members since it began. But, you know, the unanimous vote, I felt like the council understood what it was approving at last month's meeting, but I'm glad to answer any questions about the amount or the process, or, you know, the effect of it moving forward, if anyone has any questions.
If we decided not to pay this, and the county decided to sue us, how much would it cost the city to defend that lawsuit?
Well, I think it's not a
That was-
question. We never said.
I'm asking that question, I just want to know the amount.
I don't know, but I think it would be several $1,000s.
Could it reach the $10,000 level,
It-
honestly?
Yeah, if you had to go to trial and have a hearing on that, it could easily reach the $10,000.
My understanding, we were in the process of trying to negotiate with them, and South Carthage was coming along with us to help negotiate a different.
Then I made a motion that we go ahead and pay the 10,000. I think
And I'm gonna second.
It was seconded,
We
we already voted on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're voting on a budget amendment
So,
now.
yeah, he said that, I seconded it. So
Second,
now
so
we
that's all we have to
need
say,
to
is
vote.
vote on that amendment.
So I'll call a question.
Okay. That takes how much? To stop debate takes 2/3, or what does it do?
You just call a question and you vote. That's
Well, no, it
Robert's
takes
rules.
2/3, I think. We've been doing it wrong, but anyway.
Look it up in your
Any
book.
further discussion, and then if not, we'll go ahead, let's take the vote. All in favor of go ahead and pay the 10,000 to the tax assessor?
So this is.
This
All in
is
favor of
amendment.
amending the budget to,
amendment.
yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so we have two readings, right? We have a second reading next week, next month, okay. All righty.
If we're gonna do a special call meeting, anyway, can't we go ahead and do it at that special call meeting?
Yeah,
And,
I make a motion that we put it on that
Second.
agenda for that.
okay. Can you make a note of that, please? Thank you. We've already talked about speed limits. Is
We have
there any
talked.
I
further-
think we need a vote on that.
I'm
We just
sorry.
use Robert's rules when
Go
some
ahead.
people want to around
I'm
here.
so sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we will have that's on the agenda for the special call meeting Friday next week. I'm sorry, I thought we did that. Okay, then we have any further discussion about the speed limits? From anyone? Okay.
I just got a couple thoughts on it. I've heard a lot of people's, it seems like on the one issue down there, it doesn't seem to be a speed issue, it seems to be a parking issue. And that seemed like that was the consensus of your area, am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. So, if we, how would you, we do need to address the parking issue. I don't know if we're gonna be able to address that tonight. But do you feel like we should just move to address the parking issue? Do you feel like putting speed bumps up in the meantime would be beneficial? What would be your opinion? Because I feel like you're speaking for a lot of the street down there.
You can put up 20 speed bumps. It ain't gonna do no good if you got a one-way street.
Okay.
And you still got kids darting out in front of you from in between parked vehicles. I believe if you look in your city ordinances, you already have a lot of this in your city ordinances. No parking on sidewalks, length of vehicles parked on the side of the road. Vehicles that's not moved in a year parked on the side of the road with 4 flat tires. They'll have issues that's already on the books to be enforced.
Yep.
And like I said, y'all can put in 20 speed bumps. If it's an obstacle course dodging in between vehicles going up these streets, whether it be Jackson, Carmack, Fisher, College, any of them, if you don't start opening up the streets some, somebody will get hurt. And it will not be from 15 mile an hour or 25 mile an hour.
Councilman?
I'd like to see what it would cost to actually either pay some overtime to some of the officers or hire a part-time codes enforcement officer that can dedicate their time directly to that on a part-time basis. Because law enforcement doesn't have time to do a lot of the codes enforcement, and most cities have a codes enforcement officer. I think that's something that we would need in the city to make this work.
I'll also say this, and you all may know this or not, but it's technically illegal to park anywhere in the city on the streets. That is technically a rule, just unenforced. But there also are other streets that need to have parking on the streets. And so it's kind of, it's going to be hard for us to do one size fits all on the parking situation. I agree on that. Go ahead, Barbara.
We had discussed that a little bit. I agree with the danger of kids coming out between those cars. And on my street, Fight Avenue, the school buses come down. And there are a few, and that's a narrow street, so the buses might have to stop going up a hill or coming down a hill, which is difficult for that big bus, because one vehicle is. And I'm not sure that you're right that we can totally do away with that tonight. But one of the things I thought about, we discussed, a lot of people do have driveways, but they're parking on the street. What about a courtesy letter explaining the difficulty that some people are seeing and how we want to protect our kids? And if you have a driveway, could you please try to utilize that driveway and minimize the parking on the street?
I love that idea. I love that idea.
Or move over to a secondary street.
And a lot of people, like I mentioned back there a while ago, a lot of people don't understand that they think they can park on the street. They just think they can. And they don't know that they're not supposed to. So I think with the letter or whatever, letting them know that this is what we need to be looking at and that it's not legal.
To make it safer for our kids.
I sincerely like that idea. It puts it in the, it's polite. It says, hey, we're just having issues with this. If you don't mind parking the streets safer. I like that idea
And also changing the speed limit, it's not going to stop. Like I've joked about this, but I'm serious too, that if you lower it to 15 miles an hour, that's going to give the kids a right to go out there and play all they want to then. If you think about that, I think I mentioned that to you. By lowering the speed limit, I don't think it's going to help. The other thing is getting those people off the sidewalks, where the kids can travel on the sidewalks with their bicycles or whatever.
Truth is that the 15 miles an hour, the people that are going to follow that are the ones that are following the speed limit now. The ones that are not going to follow 15 because they don't follow 25.
Exactly, but if we can emphasize for the safety of our children, I think most people would get on board for that.
Your suggestion is we send a letter to the residents saying if you can use your driveway, please do, and stay off the sidewalks in the street, because that's.
Just to have it safer.
And let's send a letter, and then let's put this back, let's not ignore the problem. Let's put this back on the agenda in a few months, that way, and y'all come back and let us know if it seems to be working at all, if it's better, if it's worse, or same, or whatever. That way, we can see a result, we don't just let this go.
Yes, sir.
What other thing?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
Oh, one other thing, I live on the street that it is 15 miles an hour during school hours. Well, what the people are doing, they're going on my arterials, like one of the neighbors said, and speeding on my arterials to get away from that traffic there. So they're just, it's kind of pushing them over on another street, so to speak. So just to let y'all know that that's what's happening, like the guy that spoke earlier on Fisher, I think it is. You know, they were speeding up Fisher because they're trying to avoid the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit on College during school hours, so.
And what about children at play signs? Could we add some children at play signs? Because
There's already some on Carmack.
there's some on.
Probably can't see them for the parked cars.
Can't see them for the parked cars. Somebody be parked in front of it anyway.
Good point.
And most people in Carthage, whether you realize it or not, they pick the streets that's the smoothest to drive on, which is not me. Carmack's one of the smoother ones because you guys just paved it. But everybody's gonna pick the smoother street, and that's getting us limited down just to one or two streets in Carthage.
That's a really good point. So maybe we just don't fix any potholes. No.
You've already got some speed bumps in Carthage.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Sam said.
I just had a thought, and Eddie, you may can address this, because you always do a great job of covering the meetings anyway. Is it worth the consideration of when we send out these letters, also maybe coincide with a particular article in the paper about what we're trying to do?
An article or an insert, or an insert in the
Yeah.
paper.
The county
That would
insider
save us
too.
some money. if you
Get every
Yeah.
avenue, so to speak, that we can.
And address the junk vehicles on the road. This is ridiculous, guys. Nothing's being done about it. I mean, there are junk vehicles parked all over
And
Carthage.
that should be a separate letter, I think, but that could be
That needs to be
sent
stopped.
specifically to.
I mean, all it takes is
the
a
owner of the
record.
vehicle.
And that's a specific letter to a specific house, you know, that we can hit.
Who's gonna do it?
Chief, can we approach it with a warning and then a ticket, or how
What
would you
we'll
say?
do is we can put courtesy stickers on it, give them so many hours to move it. If they don't, then we'll end up towing it.
Okay, okay.
And if you know of any specifically that we missed or something, let us know. I'm happy to take care of it.
So we don't really make a motion on this, we're just good to.
I do have a question. Where are we sending the letters? All Carmack, all
Carmack is-
citizens?
Well, we could either do it as, I don't know which would be cheaper, but we could either mail a letter to all citizens, or we could do it as an insert in the Courier.
I think that would be the better way to do it.
That'd probably be cheaper.
Yeah, because we've got, I mean, we're talking about.
Well,
I know,
again,
that's why I'm
not everybody,
Not everybody reads through it.
yeah, I honestly, I do feel like we should just send a letter to everyone on Carmack. That's where a lot of complaints are, and these complaints were happening long before tonight. These were happening back when I walked that street running for office, like everyone said the same thing. These tractor trailers coming up and down, people use it as a drag strip, can't see anything because we're parked on the side, and that is a general consensus.
Is there not, like on the water bill, isn't there space enough to put
There is
something on there?
but it's like one or two sentences, maybe.
It's 50 letters.
It's not very many.
I just look at the price of the water bill.
Let us kind of find the least expensive way to do it. It might be a combination of this, the insider, or whatever.
But everybody should get it, not just Carmack, because that would help on a lot
That'd be
of streets.
segregated.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get it out.
How much does it cost us to send a letter out to all the citizens in Carthage?
It's
That'd be good to know going forward in case we ever.
17, how many houses?
Depends what my kind of mail truck we're gonna do.
Households, I think, so.
It's a little more than that, I think, Mayor.
Every house, it's gonna be about, it's,
Six or have $700.
$600-$700.
It's less than that to do the insert in the Courier, because we do that a lot. And you're right, everybody doesn't, but I think most people would get that.
What if we did that in like a combination of Facebook? So-
I'll
Social
give the-
media.
The city's website.
Social media and the insert, yeah.
I'll give this motion a shot, y'all vote it down. I'll motion that we do just send a letter to Carmack Avenue, because that's what the issue that was brought up. And-
Well, and Fisher.
Well, just for this one issue specifically for hardback as far as the parking on the side of the road, so,
But there's other streets though, it's just as bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a
Let's-
second.
let's-
so we
Upper
can-
Ridge,
I tell you what,
Jefferson,
let's
just
do-
as bad.
We will research the price since we
Okay.
have a meeting Wednesday at this time. We'll talk about that.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
We just got through discussing $183,000 to repair a swimming pool, and we're balking on $600 on trying to enforce some codes that's already on the book
Well-
and protect these kids that's darting out in between vehicles. Come on, folks. Let's get real right here.
Okay.
$183,000 versus $600. We're both talking kids on both of
Oh,
them.
we're gonna do it. I mean, we're gonna do it. We're just trying to find the best way.
Right, and that, we
I'll
have a
make a
few more
motion.
bills on our agenda tonight too. It's gonna be way up closer to 500,000 by the time we talk it. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna make a motion.
All right.
I'm gonna make a motion that we mail a letter to every citizen that owns a house in the city of Carthage and make them aware of the parking situation, blocking the sidewalks, any information that's pertinent to them, junk cars. That way, everybody gets the message, it's not just one street.
Second the motion.
Second.
Second.
Bill, I'm sorry.
One point on that is you said everybody that owns a house, but what about the rental properties?
Every
too?
resident in.
Every resident, yeah, I'd like to amend every resident.
I'm good with that.
We have a motion, every resident gets a letter stating that, please stay off the city streets.
I think it should be, I think the verbiage in the letter should come from the chief of police, because he knows all the ordinances and stuff like that. He can cite the ordinances in the letter, that way it's official.
Yeah, because there is an ordinance.
There's
Yeah,
several
so-
ordinances.
Yes, there's ordinance, that's why I suggested have an ordinance enforcement officer.
In fact, you have it in your
Why
ordinance.
they get mad at him.
Okay, so we will let the chief come up with the ordinances and we'll send the letter out. Do you have a second on that?
Yeah,
Second.
Second.
Be ours.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'm sorry, did you?
But there is something on the books about the time, between certain time and certain time. There is something in there. That's what needs to be referenced in that letter.
You actually
It's on the
can
books. It
park
is on there.
on the street. Am I not right, Chief, during certain
I
hours?
think
you
it's
can
kind
park?
of crazy to
Is it
5 a.m. or
overnight?
something
Like an
that.
overnight till 6 a.m. in the morning or something?
Yeah,
There's a bunch of different ordinances in
Yeah,
there about
that needs to be
different
in
parking
there,
areas,
that we
different
just didn't
times
pull
of
this
the
out of
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as we put the ordinance number that matches with what we're trying to accomplish, that way it
Okay,
gives
we'll
us something
get
to back
together
up what
with
we're
Chief
doing.
and put together a great letter to send out. Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Since we're still talking about this too, we're also talking about downtown business district. I got a bunch of phone calls about, don't slow down the speed limit, don't slow down the speed limit. The only person I said that said, slow it down was, the gentleman that was in here earlier. That's the only person out of everyone. And I expressed to all these same people, I said, well, I agree with you, but there's one area of town that I see a lot of almost constant accidents or people getting hit, and that is our downtown business district. And I don't know if it has to do with the speed limit or if we can put something in there. We talked about this at last council meeting about crosswalks. Like, even we just did crosswalks that just alerted, because in the state of Tennessee, it is a law, you yield to pedestrians. There's not a single I'll cross that street 8 times a day, if not 10 times a day, and I would say 1 out of 100 people will yield to a crosswalk, ever. And that needs to be enforced first and foremost. Second, I don't know if we need to have a speed limit, and all the people who said, no, we don't want to lower the speed limit anywhere, they all said, well, we do see the point on Main Street, because that is a highly trafficked pedestrian area. That's probably our highest pedestrian trafficked area, so.
Yes, sir.
Chief, what's the number of pedestrian accidents that happened on Main Street in the last 3 years?
I would say, not just Main Street, but the whole town, I would say it's less than 5, probably 3, 2, 3.
Okay.
I'm guessing, car versus pedestrian. If I was a betting man.
I'll be a full-fledged witness personally. I've almost been hit in the past month 3 times.
I don't doubt.
And, yeah,
There'll
so.
be a reason behind that.
Well, I had to take it across the
You got a haircut,
He was 2 of them.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so can we move on to this topic, or do we need?
Well, I thought we moved on with
Okay.
passing the
All
last
right.
motion.
Well,
Okay.
I don't think we moved on because we're still discussing the downtown business district. So, I mean, I mean,
Call to order.
there's no vote.
That's what I'm saying, that ends the discussion, doesn't it?
I mean, there's no
Should.
vote.
They should, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you vote on something?
Okay, so are we going, okay, moving on to the, okay, the performance hall ceiling insulation. Les, could you say something about this? Tell us.
What hadn't been said?
Well, we couldn't, obviously, we couldn't meet there tonight because we're freezing up there. If there's no insulation in the ceiling, we'll probably never be able to use that. If it's really hot or really cold, so I don't, is there
Something's going to be
anything?
done with the ceiling, that's all there's to it. We're going to use it, we're going to do something with it.
Do you have any thoughts? Very good, I know we've talked about this at length.
If we do something on the ceiling, we're still gonna have to increase the size of the
We'll probably
unit.
have to increase your
So it's
unit.
gonna be more, a double cost there.
Because we went up there today, and you just barely could feel the heat coming out of the vent because it's so far away, you know.
Yes, sir.
It sounds to me like it was a great concept, and it would be wonderful if we had it, but it's kind of like it's gonna cost so much to get it to be a usable facility that, I don't think it's practical to do it, at least at this time.
We have already put money in it, though. How much did we put in it to upgrade the electricity?
We did upgrade all the electricity.
It's kind of like we're talking about the pool, but this is a minimal amount compared to the pool, and the whole city could benefit from it, starting with City Hall, because honestly, I don't think, without COVID, the meeting room at City Hall is large enough for the crowds we sometimes have. That's a really tiny room to squeeze a lot of people in. We discussed it as, the only reason my husband came last time, it was not for any self-purpose, but he was asked to come to say, if we're going to do this, could we, and we want to use it at some point maybe for arts or a concert or whatever, then what would be the best way to preserve the sound? But it would be a multi-purpose room. It's been used already for wedding receptions. It's been used for multiple meetings. It's been used for multiple events. Obviously, the museum could use it more, but I think really it would benefit the city if we could find a way to fund it. And I thought about even looking for ways that we could fund it, because obviously it is a benefit to the Spot kids. We talked about doing a virtual school down there, especially during COVID, and helping the students at no cost to the students to have Wi-Fi, and we've had a tutor to come. So it would benefit, not me personally, but it would benefit the Spot, it would benefit the museum, it would benefit the city if we could look into it, since we have already invested. The room is there. It's a wonderful room. If you go over there in the daytime and look at it, it's just a beautiful, useful room that I think with not very much funds comparatively, we could have that room very usable.
We have a business in town that is trying to open up an event center right now, a private business that is trying to open up an event center and pay for it. That doesn't come out of government funding. That is trying to, that we can't find even a reason to block them, but we're blocking them. So on this one end, we got the private sector trying to open up something so that we can do it, and it saves taxpayer money. And on the other end, we're trying to pump a bunch of money into something that don't need to be there. And again, it seems like there's a double standard. If it's a government-owned building, we can have an event center with no ordinance or no nothing, do what we want to there. But if it's a private citizen, we can't do that. I'm just kind of confused.
I don't know anything about that, but I think it'd be wonderful and plenty for both if we had an event center. But this is very useful to the city citizens.
How are we blocking somebody putting in an event center?
And that comes from the planning commission.
This
So
is kind of off subject.
I know it has a little bit, but in a way it ties into this too.
he's asking me, and I'm
It's a
city
side
council
bar.
representative on the planning commission. Basically, we got a couple who's purchased, the couple who Wax Nashville, they purchased Lindsay and Lindsay's old building, Wish 86 building, to put an event center in. there's currently, they don't know how to give out the business license for it. So they're saying, well, we can't approve you to do this because we don't know how to classify you.
No, that's
And
not-
so,
It's not
so,
business, there is nothing in our zoning, and they're trying to create.
so there's nothing in our zoning,
Well, they're
but,
trying to create it for her.
Okay, but in other words, it's not it's not this entity
No,
trying to do it.
no, but it is gonna come to this entity. So what I'm saying is, again, she's saying it's not in zoning, but right now we're saying it is in zoning. So is it in zoning if it's government owned, but it's not in zoning if it's privately owned? Does that make sense? So we have some solutions out there that we don't have to pump money into. Private citizens are willing to pump money into, but we're not gonna do it because we want to,
I think
I don't
you're
know.
confused.
But if we look at
Now let's get back to this. I just wanted a quick sidebar on who was.
So about the
That's
bill-
not totally accurate, but anyway, go ahead.
About the building, if you look at it purely for, we're gonna be meeting there. We can't always use this room, and the other one's not big enough. If it's just gonna be that, then we're looking at all these different other angles, but if it's just that, then what's the call? Why are we not doing it?
The thing that I think we're kind of.
Where else would we meet?
On the same page, if I'm hearing Les and them correctly, the only way we can really get that ever really heated is if we do lower the ceiling like the rest of the museum is. The rest of the museum is pretty warm because the ceilings are low. It's just that everything is escaping through the roof in there right now.
I guess my question is, do we have any other options of places where we can meet, other than that one building?
how much money does the county spend on that ag center over there that's got a huge capacity? Just question, got that, don't want to put money into
That's a whole
that.
different city, we don't want to, we've got a building right here, you know.
That's not up to date. We have another
We have-
building over there we could probably use.
But
3 minutes away.
if we lower the ceilings in there, we can make it warm enough to meet anytime anybody wants to meet in there, for government or whatever. I mean, I think. yes.
Well, we voted against that, didn't we? Lower the-
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Okay,
That's,
that's what I was wondering, because
I don't,
Barbara, it was my understanding, and Bill kind of led into it too, that that's going to destroy the acoustics in there and all. So we're at a point where we either destroy the acoustics and make it usable for for things like this and other events, or not. So I don't know which way to vote. I don't know what.
I'm gonna call a question on this.
I hate to see
I thought we
the,
voted on this.
Yeah, we did.
I
So
thought we
I'm
did.
just- yeah, I'm
I
gonna
hate
call
to
a
see
question.
the room not be used. I don't mind looking for private funds, it was mentioned, but with it belonging to the city, that could mean that you've mentioned selling it, so we put those funds in there privately and then it sells. So I just love,
Well, I called a question,
I have
so.
asked Pam and.
That's it.
I've asked Pam
There wasn't
and
a
the
motion
board,
before either.
just so you know, I've asked Pam and the board to look for some grants.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to throw this in, I've asked the board to be looking for some
It
grants,
shouldn't be on
possibly
here,
the
exactly.
ceiling and some of the air
This was done
conditioning
in the
that's,
last
or
meeting.
heater that's going on too.
We don't
This
have-
agenda item should
never
not be
nice
on
in
here.
this bunch.
We need to move forward, and if we're gonna call a question the last one, the exact
Okay,
same way,
let's-
we're gonna call a
let's
question
go.
this one.
Let's go for
I'm
it,
in
okay.
favor.
All right.
All right, all right, the next one is, we have the front door that was redone because for security in other ways. And we have some possible grant money from public entity. Danielle, would you tell them what we need to do to get that, please? Or read the.
I spoke to you guys a little bit about this last time. I had submitted the documents to get the funding from public entity partners to replace our front door. They just come back and said, you know, we have been awarded this, but to cut the check, they want to show a motion from y'all that you guys have approved for us to pay for it, and then they reimburse us. It's actually gonna come under less than $2,000, and I've got the email if you guys wanna see it. That's why we didn't originally address it with y'all, because the mayor can sign off on anything under $2,000, and we're gonna spend like $1906.
It's already in our budget, right?
We're getting grants paying for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it pays for over half of it,
Part of it,
yeah.
yeah. You want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion to approve that, accept the grant money, all in favor, oh, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, so you put this.
Yeah, I'll just put it in the minutes and send it with it. I have to send it
Thank
with
you,
them.
and by the way, the new door looks really great. It now has a panic bar, you can push and go out and locks automatically.
is that City Hall?
See what?
At City Hall?
At City Hall, front door.
Is there a time, I know this isn't on here, but is there a time frame of when that's gonna be open to the public where we can go back in there?
Well, when COVID dies down a bit. You mean for meetings?
No,
Oh,
no,
oh.
that, to pay a water bill, to go in the building.
Oh, well, they've got the box up front still. It's
Right.
just COVID right now. It's-
You could probably add it to the, if you wanted to, you can send it to Daniel an email, add it to the agenda, and we could probably vote as a council if we want to open it back up, but we can't do it this month.
You can't do an emergency amendment.
Do what?
You do an emergency
We
amendment.
could do emergency amendments, but
Well, it's kind of to protect the people in City Hall right now. So if you don't mind, if you really need to get in, we'll let you in, okay? It's just,
can I get in too?
I just, there's been a lot of people come to me and say, you know, I'd like to get into,
That was
there and
me.
get change back and all, I mean, it's not on here, I understand, but.
how about if, starting next week, we'll see if we, we'll check with.
It's not, I
Fine, what number?
want that to be out there, it's not just me asking, there's people that are coming to me asking.
Just so you know, South Carthage is closed too, so yes, sir.
Let's just follow the procedure we set in place. I'm gonna wanna make an emergency motion that we open City Hall.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, Mayor.
Well, excuse me, yes. I do feel like our employees who work there should have some say in it, but, you know.
The way I look at it, the people that are going to pay their water bills and interacting don't go anywhere past, they shouldn't have to go past that front window, which is protected by the glass, so there shouldn't be any COVID issues
Okay.
there.
Right.
And that way it's open to the citizens that actually pay to have that building.
Okay.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay.
Call the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You did have a question. You didn't call for a question.
Discussion, you mean? Call for discussion.
We call for discussion, yes.
Discussion, but if you call for question, it ends discussion.
Well, they have 2/3 vote to do that.
So, the way the ordinance is set up, to add it to the agenda needs approval of 2/3 majority, and then you can vote on the substantive motion and approve it, emergency motions. So I think, I don't know.
We just
what
added
that
it
was.
to the agenda, so now we have to vote.
If it passed by 2/3, then I
I
wasn't.
didn't think.
Do we need to do a roll call?
We need to do a roll call.
Do roll call vote.
Okay. Where'd sound go? Okay, let's have a roll call.
Sam, you gotta come back.
Get his vote.
We're going to add to the agenda an emergency opening of the City Hall. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Knappel.
I'm so tired. What do we?
We're voting if we're adding this to the agenda.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Councilman Babcock.
Yes.
Councilman Eagle.
Yes.
Councilman Peters.
Yes.
Councilman Petty.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Okay, so it's on the agenda. So,
You could make your motion now.
Make a motion that we open City Hall.
Second.
okay, any discussion on that?
Call the
Okay.
question.
Can we, let's have a roll call on that one too. Let's just have fun. Go ahead.
Councilwoman Knappel.
Yes.
Councilman Babcock.
Yes.
Councilman Eagle.
Yes.
Councilman Peters.
Yes.
Councilman Petty.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Okay, so we will get it open. Thank you very much. We'll go to new business now. We've got Mr. Poole. Hello, Mr. Poole. This is John Poole, our auditor, for those of you who haven't had a chance to meet him. I'll let you take the floor. Please just.
Thank you very much. My name is John Poole. I'm an accountant hired by the city to perform the state required annual audit. I'm going to do a little different tonight, and I apologize. I know it's a long meeting, so I'm going to go really quick. If any of you have the reports, the little black book, the subject of the swimming pool, if I could have you turn to page 14, I just want to give you some basic financial information that as you, I know this board member said he's going to help with some research. I want to give some help to that.
So what page again?
On page 14. On this page 14, this city's very aware you have to keep your money in different sets of monies. You can only spend certain monies on certain things. But the general fund, which is where any swimming pool related money would come from, at the end of June, and I can tell you, I talked to Teresa through the end of November, there was $3.8 million in checking accounts and $291,000 in CDs. Now, once again, it's up to this city's council to decide if that's significant of money to prevent you from borrowing monies, but I just want to give you an idea of the city's what I'm trying to say is the city is in terrific financial shape. And so while $200,000 or $180,000 is a significant amount to you and me, for the city may just be able to write the check. Having said that, I'm going to have you turn 2 more pages to page 16. And once again, I just want to focus on this, that the general fund, which once again, all the swimming pool monies and comes from. If you'll notice the 4th number from in that first column, the 4th number from the bottom that says excess or deficiency of revenues over expenses, that's profit and loss. For the general fund, for the year, just the 1 year ending 2020, you had a surplus of $892,000. That's a dramatic pause. If you go back to the history of the city, the total of that would just be 4.3 million. So you almost had 20% of the total surplus you've ever had in the 1 year. Now, I'm not a soothsayer, I don't foresee the future, and obviously you guys would know more about the current, last 6 months. But to me, once again, this is just my opinion, and this is no reflection on the city. If you got $180,000 expenditure that you decide you want to do, write the check. Don't borrow the money. That's just me. I'm not too much. Now, I will say this just because I heard in conversation, I just want to make sure, we mentioned we got some estimates for $180,000. That doesn't require the law. You can go ahead and start talking to that vendor, but you're still going to have to put an ad in the smallest local paper. You can detail that ad however you want it, where only one vendor gets it. But just getting estimates, because it's going to exceed your bid amount, won't comply with the law. And so once again, I'm not stopping the process, just to make sure you do it right. Make sure you get some smallest local paper where nobody but these, and you can tell these guys, hey, make sure you reply to this. But I just don't want us to mix that up. Okay, and so are there any questions about that? Just because that was such a significant discussion, I just want to.
So just so we're clear, the I think it's 187,000 we talked about, we would be, okay, right?
Yeah, so once again, you're going to have to do, as you would know, you're going to have to do budget amendments, all kinds of things. But you've got the funds, you know. Once again, this board will decide how much money it needs to have set aside in reserves. But you have, based on what we spent, you've got 2 years worth of reserves just sitting in a checking account. 2 years worth of expenses.
Sounds like we need to lower some taxes.
Well, once again, that's a different discussion, and once again, I'll let this board handle that. But I just want to make sure this board feels somewhat comfortable when it comes to the monies in what we call general fund, police, fire, swimming pool, streets. There are some funds there, and so before we go outside, once again, we love grants. We're not talking, but okay. So enough about that. Going back, once again, I'm not going to ask you to go there, but if you go back and you look at the other non-utility funds, drug fund had a small surplus, sanitation, a small surplus, State Street aid, we didn't spend any of that money that came to the streets, and that's okay because we usually save that money up and use it for paving. But once again, overall for the non-utility funds, your finances are in great shape. Very quickly, I want to go to page 19 and talk about the utility fund. And once again, I'm taking more time than I should. This board is very aware that the state has a law that says you have to show a profit in your utility fund. We're talking water and sewer is one, at least every other year. In other words, you can't have losses 2 years in a row. And once again, on page 19, if you'll go to the 5th number from the bottom, net change in net position plus $200,000, 201,068. So once again, we've certainly made the state requirement in making that $1 of surplus. What that means is for basically every dollar's worth of water we're selling, we're able to save 7 cents of that for future improvements and things along that side. So we've certainly, like you said, my whole point is, from a financial standpoint, the city of Carthage is in pretty good shape, you know, as of June 30th. Things may have changed, but I will just say my name and phone number is on page 1 of this report. If there's ever a member of this board or a citizen that wants to call me directly and talk about finances, I'm glad to do that. So I don't know if it's appropriate to ask if there are any questions. If there are,
sure.
I'd be glad to give my best. I did short, because I did different things.
Any questions of Mr. Poole? Any questions for Mr. Poole?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I do want to add one thing, because I know it seemed frivolous about City Hall. Just so you know, even though this big thing protecting Cindy, every time someone comes and uses that front counter, she has to go out and disinfect it.
I think we need to add this to the agenda.
No, I'm just saying, that was not a frivolous thing, so I just wanted you
But I'm
to.
saying, we already ended that.
Yeah, okay, let's move on, because, okay, the next, okay, we're now looking at the finance. Yes, sir.
I think we need to make an emergency amendment to address what Mr. Poole said about advertising in the paper. If we don't do it now, then we're gonna be that much further behind trying to get in our 2 weeks. I think we need to make an emergency amendment to add that to the agenda so we can actually advertise in the
Well,
paper.
we would automatically do that. That's what we do when we had, when we put it, now that he's told us that.
He's saying, get ahead of it, just go and get ahead of it for the upcoming meeting next week.
Yes.
Just because, I mean, we're gonna have to work off the information anyways.
Well,
Just deny it if we don't like the bid.
We will go ahead and put it in the paper next week, is what I'm saying, if that's okay.
So
It
apparently,
has to be advertised if it hasn't.
Yes.
already.
So I was gonna make the motion that we go ahead and advertise, so.
okay, I think we're good, but who knows, you know,
I don't know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
No,
don't
we will
know.
go ahead
that's
and-
right.
Now that Mr. Poole has reviewed that, we'll go ahead and put it in, and it's good to know that we are financially sound enough to write the check if we want to. That's
Yeah.
that's good.
Any contract for services or materials over $10,000 that's not otherwise exempt
We
has to
always
be
advertise.
advertised.
Yeah, we always, so, thank you, everybody. Yes, we will definitely do that. Make it up, please. Okay. Okay. Again, we are going out of our way to protect the privacy of all of our candidates. So what we have done is given each candidate,
Pass it over here.
would you please? Each candidate, there's no name, there's a name beside the number, but we won't speak any names tonight.
Which ones are you giving me?
This one.
Okay.
Um,
Mayor Smith?
Listen,
And I'm not gonna speak any names because I think we all agreed upon that. Even though I disagree, I don't wanna speak any names right now. But I do feel like this also should be something that we have numbers here. So we can use numbers and we can have a discussion
Oh,
as a
sure. Yes,
council.
of course we will.
Discuss it. Okay, so that's what this is
yeah,
about.
yes,
Oh.
yes, of course.
This is great. Thank
We
you.
are
That's all I was gonna ask to
protecting
do
the
and you've already done it? No.
identity of
Yeah.
everyone. Yes,
Just gonna get 2 votes?
No, if we talk about person
yes. So,
1410, yeah.
So basically, let me see if I can do the wrong one.
I like this. This is okay.
Double check the one you have here, so.
I'm not yours.
I don't have one right now. Did we have one left over? Yeah, there it is, I'm sorry. Okay. So you'll notice there, each name has a number beside of it. That's all we'll address, and yes, we can discuss that as much as we want. Danielle has a sheet that she will, when we get to the point of voting, it's not in the same order as this. So you just look for your number, and when she calls it, that way we really are trying to protect everybody's identity. So here's the names and the numbers if you want to. Normally, we would just vote for each one, but if you want to discuss according to the numbers, however you would like to do this. But please don't say the names, it's the numbers that you're talking about. Yes, sir.
I would just like to mention number 10 and number 18, if I'm not mistaken, had come to us previously in the last time. And that shows to me a little bit of motivation after wanting the job. I'm not sure how they feel about pay or anything like that. Also, number 19 did seek out ahead of time, also in person, at least with me, and I don't know if anybody else. And that was also something that, those are the 3 that kind of put them above the bar for me. I thought that they were great. Number 14, I had an issue because we've had issues even paying him in the past just because things have happened in the past where he was working without our knowledge or well exceeded the amount that we had budgeted as far as, like, we refused to pay his bill at a certain point because it was kind of a controversial area. But that's just all I got to say about him. And I'm leaning towards the three ones that kind of stood out more.
I would like just to, if you had a chance to look at the job description, there are certain educational, training, whatever. We initially said we were looking, we were lucky enough to get a CPA at one point. It's very rare to have more than one CPA ever really come on board or try to come on board, but we do have somebody who meets that classification, yes.
I'd like to say that we should also take into consideration the other people that would have to work with this individual, and there was been some concerns raised about I believe it's number 18. So if there's not going to be any continuity in there right off the bat, we may have issues there.
I did hear about that too. Okay. The other thing I was going to mention, I'm sorry.
I think we did see with Teresa in that position how vital a CPA was. She did clarify that for us and brought to light things that we were unaware of and that could have caused the city major issues just because of her years of experience and her CPA certification, or experience and education. I do think that we really want to look closely at what's needed there, what position really is needed, and obviously it would speed things up since we're already behind the 8 ball hiring someone. It would speed things up a little bit to hire someone that is familiar with the city, has worked with the city, and as far as the I don't really recall about paying his bill, but I don't think that was anything on his part. That may have been something on the city's part as to how many hours he actually worked, but I don't think that was anything against him personally. But
there was all.
Can we hear from everybody else, please? Sam, Bill, Jesse, any thoughts?
I think my decision was made the night of the interview, so I have nothing else to say.
Okay.
I just have one more thing to say too.
Yes, sir.
And then I'll big one. All the applicants except for number 14 were very transparent. They agreed that they needed to be transparent. They agreed that they worked for the council as a whole, not for an individual council member or the mayor. Also, number 14 has had a significant advantage on everyone, placated by its just political maneuvering. It's very wary of it. Number 14, that's the one I'm more wary of. So, and with the number 18 having some issues with that, I'm kind of leaning more towards either number 10 or number 19.
Yeah, any further discussion, please? Okay. What Danielle will do is, she's got a sheet for each number, so she'll call out the number, just if you will vote. If there's a tie vote, then we'll have to take the top two.
Why don't we just write it on the sheets and turn them into it?
Just look at the circle of the sheet, turn it in.
Can you do that?
So those are, I mean, you can do that. Again, the sheets are gonna be, particularly if they're filled out, they're gonna be public records. I'm not looking.
Can we sign it?
To see what they are. I would suggest just making a motion to appoint one, voting on it, seeing if you get a majority vote.
That's usually what we do. We just call out the
And you can
numbers.
do it
I like the way, you know how we hired, when you were hired, I like the way we did that, because that was, I felt like it was pretty neutral that way. It didn't really, wasn't as.
I don't know how the actual vote, because we stepped out, so I don't know how the
Oh,
question
okay.
vote was.
Well, you got the job.
You guys wrote my name down, and
Yeah.
it had to have.
Yeah, we've done it where we write the name down, turn them in, but we still have to put our name on it because it has to be a public record vote.
If we just circle it and put our name on it, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Do we have to- so we-
Do we have to vote on that, or is that just a?
So I motion we use I motion we use the procedure where we circle the name, write our name next to it, turn it in.
Second.
Again, it'll be a public record, we can announce what's validated.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to write your name on it and circle it, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, all right, please do that, and we'll, Danielle, you want to take them up, please? Sure. Ready to vote too.
There you are.
Thank you.
I think we have to, do we call them out, or how do we do?
I would suggest that Danielle read out the number of votes for, well, if
For the
there's a
number.
clear, if there's a clear, well, just read them out for each one, I think, just to make.
Do I need to say who voted for what number, or just?
Again, it has to be disclosed or kept as a public record, so what I would suggest, again, this is up to the council, if there's a clear majority, to identify who that is and what the total number of votes is for that person.
Are we actually saying the name, or are we just saying?
No, the number.
Just say the number
Okay.
for now,
The
and
number.
again,
Okay, so you want me to say who voted what number?
Well, let's tally up the number.
yeah, tally the votes first.
Okay, there's a clear
Okay, then you can just announce what number. is.
number 14,
How many votes?
6
Okay.
to 1 for number 10.
7 votes.
I said, how do we have
Mayor-
7
Mayor
votes?
Mayor
Smith.
Smith voted.
Mayor Smith
Oh,
voted.
okay.
Oh, that would be a tie vote, so.
So now I would just, probably as a matter of for procedure formality, just ask you to accept that vote of 6-1 for the council that's submitted by Alderman Wright and announced by the recorder.
Okay, do you guys accept number 14 as the,
The CMFO.
I mean, do we need?
You need a motion?
I
I
would-
make the motion, we accept the vote that was done by the council to hire the CMFO position,
Number 14.
number 14 into the position.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
No. Did you say no?
I'm sorry, did you say?
Did you
You
say
can ask for opposed vote.
Ask for opposed.
Opposed, I'm sorry.
Opposed.
Opposed,
Okay,
I was
I'm not-
opposed.
I said aye.
okay. So-
I didn't hear opposed.
Oh, sorry, it's getting late, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That has to be in there too.
All right. Okay, so we will, can we contact that person tomorrow?
So, yeah, again, that's an appointment of that person to hire. We still have to deal with the issue of compensation and have an agreement. And the person has to agree to come on board and accept pay.
Do we do that right now?
Well, we probably have to contact them tomorrow.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, you can do that. Again, the motion, none of the approval has a specific salary. I know we had some debate when Lisa was hired as far as exact compensation to offer.
There is,
Is that in the, I hadn't seen that
well,
material.
no, because, yes,
The question I have is, shouldn't we set the salary before we offer the position?
I think there's a salary range in the advertisement.
Well, no, there's not.
We're gonna move on the person, we need to do it immediately, we don't need to kick this can down the road.
Yeah, we need to
anymore.
set,
Budget season.
if I offer you a job, I used to say, this is what it pays.
Yeah.
And then once they hear the job, we'll say we should get paid
I
later.
think you have to technically make a
Well,
motion to add an emergency.
Man, throw
I'll
this
do
out.
that.
This is in our personnel policy, and we didn't follow this last time, so can you read, see what's in the policy first? Because we didn't follow it for Teresa, and that was part of the problem.
What's,
Here, this,
I didn't bring my personnel policy with me.
it's right here. It just says rate of pay, and this is the only thing in any of our stuff, and we're going to have to address this.
I got it.
We can give this to each one if you want.
Is there one for everybody?
Yeah. It just says basically each employee's rate of pay is set by the council. This rate may vary based on the job which you are hired to do, skills you have, responsibility, experience, and other factors required by the job.
So was that rate of pay set for Teresa, for that position?
No,
That's what I'm saying.
we have to set the rate of pay.
Because it's saying it's not, you can create the rate of pay based on the skills and whatever the person brings into it.
To discuss this though, by Robert's Rules of Order and the motion of the council approved last time by the second reading, we have to make sure this is an emergency added to the agenda. So we can't discuss this any further until that happens. Go ahead, Steve.
I'd like to make the motion to make this an emergency amendment to the agenda that we can discuss the rate of pay for the new CMF officer appointed.
Okay, it's made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we pay the, what's on the agenda, so I can make a motion, that we pay this position the same as we pay all of our other supervisors. This position isn't anything extra special, any extra worse, but you do not put in a,
I second that motion.
thanks, Steve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry for jumping on the discussion. I don't think that there's a position, a supervisor position, that's better than another supervisor position. We've got a lot of great employees. I don't, in my company, hire someone brand new in and start paying them more than someone who's been loyal to me for 30 years. I'm just completely against that. I'm fine with paying them and compensating them the same as we do all of our other supervisors. So I motion that we pay them based on what we do our other supervisors. I had the number from Danielle and I lost it.
I think it's 2463.
Yeah, 2463, give or take, about right there. Yeah, hour.
I second that motion.
What's the difference there?
$24.63.
You're right.
Jesse.
What's the difference there between, I saw that he had a desired salary, and what's the difference between that and what we're saying?
2463 is like
It's
$51,000
like
a year.
$57,000 a year. He was
Yeah.
requesting 60.
There you go, okay, good.
He was also requesting 2 weeks vacation instead of 1.
I just want to throw in, this is one reason Teresa, when she was offered a better position, I mean.
This is not a reason, I can tell you that.
No,
That was not a
no
reason.
way. Just don't go that route.
Teresa made that clear to me, and I will quote Teresa on that.
Okay, well, so we've got this on the floor. Any
And a
further
second.
Discussion? We've got a second.
I do want to call the attention then to what you just gave us in that, where was that? What did you just read? Let me just read that one more time.
Each employee's rate of pay is set by the council.
It is set by the council based on experience, is it based, where is it?
Based on hired and new skills you have, responsibility, experience, and other factors required by the job.
Yeah, let's please consider that, the education and the certification and the years of experience as it make that decision, because I really don't want us to continue to have to fill this position. I don't know, let's just consider that as we vote. That we do hire people, I do hire people at different rates based on, not that any person is better than the other, but I do hire people based on their skills and the responsibility of the position, their experience. That's how I've always hired.
I don't see a CMFO position worth more than a police chief, worth more than an employee who's been here for 30 years. I don't see it.
I don't know that we even have to make the distinction, because we're talking about $3,000 a year difference between the desire of what he wanted and what this is actually gonna be.
It's actually about 9,000. I think it's about.
And I'll just put, during the interview.
60 and 51.
During the interview, it was stated that he did not want to come in and cause a conflict. He would start at the same salary as the other supervisors. That's what I was told.
Well,
He did say that, okay. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Those kind of questions I asked.
Okay. All right, so we have the motion on the floor and,
We have a second?
second, and no further discussion. You want to vote on this then? Or is there any further discussion?
Let's do a roll call vote.
Can you state the motion, please?
Motion is that we set the salary for the new CMFO.
Did you
Yes,
make the
ma'am.
motion?
I was going to make a motion, yeah. Motion is that we set the salary for the new CMFO supervisor position as the same salary that all of our other supervisors have.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We do a roll call vote. I requested that.
Councilwoman Knappel,
Yes.
Councilman Babcock,
Yes.
Councilman Evil,
Yes.
Councilman Peters,
Yes.
Councilman Petty,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reese.
Yes.
Okay.
So passes, thank you. The next item here is, the Boy Scout repair of the roof. We had 2 estimates on that.
I put them in there, Council.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the lower one.
Second.
Which, I apologize, which ones are these? Are these the?
That's the building down by the 10,000 and 12,000.
Yeah, it's Roof X and Village Contract.
Yeah, those contractors.
What's the building used for?
Sky Nova
I'm
and
sorry.
Rubik's.
What is the building used for now?
It's where they store their.
Boy Scouts usually on Pee-wee football, usually store their stuff in there.
It's used for what?
Boy Scouts and the Pee-wee football.
So it's still being used by the Boy Scouts?
Yep.
Okay.
And they store equipment and things in there, I think, use it as their office for PE football. And it's another.
I'm not opposed, I'm just trying to figure out, I don't
It's
know
not-
what's going on, this is the
It's
first I've
another
heard
one
of
of
it.
those things our insurance company says has to be fixed if we're going to use it.
Okay.
There was storm damage to
The
it.
So it's
chimney
the
fell on the
roof?
roof and it went
It's a
through the
roof,
roof.
it's got to restore the roof.
You're talking about that one building that's right on the corner of the ball field
Yeah.
right there?
Yes.
Okay, and the chimney fell in?
Yes.
Didn't know about that either?
Hey, chimney fell.
It's been there since 20.
Okay,
Do we have a second on that?
We do have to ask before you know things.
okay, so we have a motion and second to
Oh,
take the
peanut
lowest
gallery.
bid on this.
Call the question.
Yes, sir. Question, okay. Okay, all in favor of taking the lowest bid, which is Mr. Wish's, whatever it is there?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all opposed? Okay, thank you, we will, unless we help you reach out and let you know that, okay? Thank you. Okay, the next, we're getting near the end here. Oh, copier for the police department. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve the purchase of the copier for the police department.
Second.
Okay, do we have a price on that?
I don't know how much it is.
So the quote we had, so when we bought one last time, it's probably been anywhere from 6 to 10 years ago. We bought a used one last time, my best understanding of it. I wasn't in charge then, but we ended up using Mid-Tennessee office equipment. They service us and they help us out whenever we need it. And so got in contact with them, got a couple prices for a black and white versus a color. We need color in there for, that way we can actually handle the business needs that we have. And he quoted me a price about $21.95, so a little bit over $2,000, almost $2,200. And that will take care. It is used because they obviously cost a lot more new, but it's about a year to 2 years old and it's in really good shape.
What's the, if it's over 2,000, we don't, it has to be over 10,000 to get a bid.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you can get to, anything over 10,000, you definitely have to advertise in a paper circulation and accept bids. Between, I think, 2,000 or 2,500 and 10,000, you can get written quotes for bids if there's not an exception for that, which this being a used one, this amount, if you've got multiple quotes, particularly in writing for this.
I've got
that should be
one for
fine.
mid-10. If y'all want me to get more, I can. Towns usually uses mid-10 for, most of that kind of stuff. It's it's in the city, number one.
It's close enough for me to 2,000 that
You say it's
I don't have an issue
21?
with it.
It's 21.95. I would ask maybe you approve up to 23 or something, just to make sure. Make sure everything's correct on it.
They're expensive.
Make sure that something hasn't changed.
I got a motion and a motion to approve
Do you want to set the amount?
at $2,300.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Light poles at the city ballpark. Unless you can count this too, we had a big old canister,
Oh, my
which
God.
very heavy, that fell off,
Yeah.
and they found it there.
The globe, it holds the lights up there on top, the round part, they're falling off.
They're rusting
They're
out.
rusting out.
So the electric company, apparently this happened at Paris also, they are going to come in and cut the poles where the lights are and leave the LED lights around.
The street lights.
If, to have the lights replaced, we would have to pay a private contractor to come out and do it, which would be very expensive. We've talked to David Reed, who's the Little League junior football team coach. They're the only ones who use this at night.
Yep.
But is cutting it off and just doing the LED, is that gonna give them enough light
Well,
to practice?
this is the thing, unless you want to spend quite a bit of money to replace those lights just for that. They're the only ones who use it at night, so we.
How much money are we talking about?
That's right there by the pool, isn't it? The northern one.
Or is it back there, $40,000?
Behind the pool.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
That's just a guess, but
30,000?
probably, I guess they're rid of that.
No. Even probably, they say closer to 40 or 50, but. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to see how much it's gonna cost to have the lights put back in the condition they are now, because, I mean, there's nothing down there. That ball field's been neglected for a long time, and if they use it for football, we need to put some lights back. There's another thing for the kids, so, I mean, we need to see what it's gonna cost before we say, no, we're not gonna do it.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Can I? And
You
I'm,
can.
okay. And I'm fine with that, but there's also some other areas too we might wanna look at improving. If we're gonna make that a kid-friendly zone, we're gonna put this money possibly in a pool, we're gonna put money into this field, and we're looking at some playground grants, am I correct, Mayor
Trying to
Smith?
get some.
Trying to get some,
Grant-
you know,
that's grant money.
we might wanna also, you know, and I'm not trying, I don't wanna spend a bunch of money or anything, but we might wanna look at what it is to light that entire park up. If we're at it, and make that kid-friendly, get kids outside. So I don't know if we need to.
Well, right now, it's
put that
closed
into
after
it.
Park
That's what I was
It's
gonna
closed at dark.
I was wondering why we're gonna spend that if we got a sign up that says it's closed after
Close it
dark.
dark unless it's
Yeah.
the football team.
Don't they play Little League down there though?
Essentially, yes.
See, that
They
would
play T-ball, but it's usually in the
It's
daytime.
not-
Right, I mean, that would open it up if they wanted to play in the
Why
evenings
is it
after,
closed down?
because that's probably they don't play down there at night,
That's
because
just
they'll
been
play everything on Saturday, because there's no lights.
For a long time.
But it-
All
My
the
kids
lights are closed.
never had a T-ball game at night, so I don't know how to ask, you know. I just think.
We had some practices at
That's
night.
the same, we practiced down there for Little League
Yeah,
but there's only, after so long, you have to leave because it's dark.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it's just something worth, I mean, looking, if we're gonna light it up down there, let's light it up. If we're gonna make it kid-friendly, I mean, kids are still kids after dark.
If we're gonna light
With
it
the
up,
lights in there, it's a little bit safer.
well, if we're gonna light it up, maybe we shouldn't have it closed down all through, after dark.
Yeah,
What's the point?
exactly, yeah.
Well,
Maybe we need to extend it to a certain
another thing,
time.
if we're gonna extend the pool hours till later on, we want to have it lit in that area where the kids are gonna be, because they're not all, kids are not gonna stay right there. They're gonna wander out, go into the shelter. It would be a law enforcement thing, in my opinion, just to be able to see what's going on in that park anyway.
Then we'll have to look at that ordinance to lift that.
Yeah, we'll have to do a lot of things, but.
Yeah, not a big deal, I'm just.
I'd suggest for now we go ahead with
The light.
looking into the lights there, and then that'll be another project.
Okay, so we're gonna explore what the cost would be.
Explore what the cost would be to light that up. I will amend it to an additional exploration into lighting the whole park at a separate time.
Just to look at it, saying, we just look at the cost, don't mean we have to do it all right now.
We
I
get
might
two-
not vote for doing any of it, but I'm just saying, at
It would be
least we
two
get a
separate,
price.
two separate things. First,
Yeah,
we're gonna
we'll
see how
have
much
to-
it's gonna fix this one's here.
You're gonna have to do something, because them globes keep hanging down there. If they fall, somebody's gonna cost more than that, though.
Yes,
Exactly.
definitely.
I had a light on Main Street,
Well,
almost bought my
and
son.
just, again, what Albert Cohen has told us, they're gonna take them down regardless, and it's gonna
Yeah.
be up to us if we wanna put them back up to hire a private company to come and do
Come on,
it.
we'll cut you.
Yeah, so So,
I'll call a question.
so we're going, the motion is to investigate the price for a private company to come in and do the lights of the whole area.
In two stages.
Two
One-
stages, yeah.
One stage for the damaged ones, and then another stage for the entire park. We may be able to put a different type of lighting in the rest of the park, just so we can see in there, and not have to be lit up like a ball field.
Probably wouldn't have to be up on the tall poles.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be like a ball field. It could actually be some kind of decorative thing in for a park. Who knows?
Aren't there some lights already there on the basketball court?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's lights on the basketball court.
okay.
They don't work,
Anywhere else?
so you know what I did.
The lights don't work. So anyway, that's the motion.
There
We
you
have
go.
we have a second.
It's closed after dark anyway.
Okay, so the motion is we're gonna take it in two stages. First, study how much to bring the private company in to do the lights on the ball field, and then how much it would be for them to do the rest of the park too. Okay?
I
All
look
in
at the ball
favor?
field.
Okay, thank you. Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, got it. All righty. Sewer truck repair.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. We got a 1976 model wash truck. It has a 500-gallon water tank on it, and that tank is rotten. It's actually got a hole in it about the size of a basketball. I have a bid there for Woodard Machine Shop to fabricate and replace that tank. Just asking for y'all's approval to get that done.
And how much is the bid again, please?
$43,980.25.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, second. Any discussion on that?
Yes, that's the one's a little bit higher. Did you ask for any other places, or is that pretty much it?
Did I ask for any of it?
Like as far as getting other bids?
No, that's about the only place I could find that would.
Well, no, you did compare it.
You compared buying a new,
Do I?
you compared buying a new tank to put in there also, didn't you?
Yes, there is a poly tank on there. I think it's submitted. It's about $1,000, roughly $1,000 higher. I personally would recommend the cheaper one, the steel tank, because I think it will outlast the life of the truck.
So he has two bids there. One's
Yeah.
for,
And you're recommending the lower bid, the
Yeah,
39?
one's for a poly or plastic tank, the other's for a steel tank.
Okay. Yeah, and my only thing was just make sure we're following ethics, and
Call the question.
we've done the,
okay. So we have the question.
Call the question.
All in favor of taking the lower bid for the steel thing? Whatever, wash truck? Aye.
And a motion to adjourn.
And wait,
Second.
wait, any opposed? And then now a motion.
Second.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hope y'all, we got to do it.
So,